You're bushwhacking through the forest with the cork on your gun, and I'm actually going to take this up here because you're already standing on it, and with a spray paint. So you'll have the spray paint and your gun, and you come across some knotweed. Yay! Always a delightful thing. So what we want to do is we inject between the first and second node. And so the nodes are these little knees here. And so the little knees, they won't let anything into them because that's the only solid part in this whole thing. So you don't want to inject straight into the knee. And if it's really woody, which this one really is, which means that it's getting old, we don't want to inject between the first and the second node because it probably won't go in and it'll probably just crack. So we can go between the second and the third node. So I'm going to go between the second and the third node. Thank you.
Katie, why do we want to go between
so low?
Those nodes? Yeah.
That's a good question, Lydia. So we inject it between the first and the second, or the second and third node, because as it drips down, the plant will, we want it close enough to the roots that the plant will take it into the roots. So glyphosate is a systemic herbicide, which means that it works because the plant absorbs it into the roots and into the leaves and everything. And it stores all its energy in the rhizomes. Sorry, not roots, rhizomes. That's another reason why we calibrate it so carefully. If you add too much herbicide, it kills it too quickly, and it'll kill the cane before it kills the rhizome, which means that the canes will die and the...
What's up?
Sorry. The canes will die, but the rhizomes will still be alive, so it'll grow back. Does that answer your question? Okay. So I'm actually gonna inject it on this side where it's not as woody. So remember that we have our little hole on the bottom of this needle. So we want to inject just below this top node that we've selected. So it's actually gonna go all the way through the knotweed, so that the hole is right inside the knotweed, because that's actually where it's coming out of. It's not coming out of the tip. And so then you want to deliver it slow and smoothly. So one slow, smooth trigger. And then pull it back out, recap it. I'm not actually going to spray it, and then spray it. So we spray it to mark it, so that we know which ones we've done.
It's very, very dense. It may seem silly that you're marking it, but you will forget which ones to do unless you mark it.
Yeah.
Does it matter where you mark it, or just wherever?
Usually you're pretty low to the ground, and everyone's kind of like crawling through. So you want to do it somewhere around eye level. And usually what we like to do is travel in one direction, so that the spray paint is all in the same direction as you're traveling through, so that if anybody like kind of drifts into your area, they can see that they're in your area because you've spray painted them all in the same direction. Not all the way to the top, but fill the tank. And so we pour it over the tank. As you can tell, it's really heavy.
See how we're dripping?
Okay. And so now what we want to do is grab the lid to the tank and back thread it. So that means we're going to turn it counterclockwise first to make sure that it like pops down. These things not made very well. After Earthcore, I'm going to go into the business of making these better and make a lot of money. But in the meantime, they break really easily and they're really crazy expensive. So make sure that you twist it back first and then twist it forward.
Good example of maybe staying over there.
Yeah, thank you. See, absent-mindedness. And so then this is the gun that we use. And so the same thing, after you fill up the tank, you're gonna back thread it, so turning it counterclockwise, and then turning it clockwise until you don't want it too tight. And so now it's all filled up and ready to go. But next, we need to put on the needle. And so this is the part why you probably want to be wearing shoes, these pants, because this thing, someone on our crew 2 years ago stabbed themselves in the leg with this because they were carrying around without a cork on and stabbed it into their leg. Was that Sam?
Last year too.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And I had someone else that like sat on it.
Yeah.
Ouch. Yeah. And so this is a quick release lever here. So you just pull it back and the needle sits right in it and it should kind of pop right back out again. And these needles have a tiny little hole on them where the herbicide actually comes out, and you just want to make sure that's pointing downwards so that when you stick it in the stem, it's going to point down.
This is very important for when you're testing.
Yeah.
If it's sticking up and you're testing it, you'll see how we test it. It shoots straight up right into someone's eyes and possibly goggled eyes.
And so, you know what's missing from this one? I'm really glad I found this out now. Not the Allen. Oh no, there they are. Okay. So, all our guns need to be calibrated to 3 milliliters. And so we have these little handy dandy vials that have all the lines on them. So each line is 1 milliliter. And so we want all the guns calibrated to 3 milliliters. So holding it over the Rubbermaid bin, you want to find the needle on the bottom of it and squeeze the trigger. So the first few times, it's going to be pretty much just air until you get a steady stream. And so that you can just pour back in. But now we want to spray it one smooth trigger release. And that's just over 3 milliliters, just a little too much. So the way that we correct that is using Allen wrenches. So just under the trigger here is a little, it's called an Allen head. Huh? Oh yeah, thanks. The Allen head under here. And so using our Allen wrench, you put it inside the trigger, through the trigger into the Allen head, and making it tighter, making it go back up into the gun, will release more herbicide. Turning it counterclockwise and having it come out a little bit more makes less herbicide. So, and we want to try again. See if I can do this in one shot. I doubt it. 3 milliliters. Okay? And so now you'd be.
No, again, if you do this stronger,
So, trying to think, righty-tighty. So clockwise, it goes into the gun. It's got these kind of heart-shaped leaves, pretty pointed at the ends, and it's got this kind of distinctive zigzag when it branches out. And it's a hollow stem, so we inject it actually with herbicide, put the herbicide inside the cane, and that reduces drift. So the herbicide that we actually use to inject is called glyphosate, and I don't have it out here with us because we don't want to be like pouring glyphosate all over the lawn, but I will show you that on site. So have any of you guys ever injected before? You've injected? Anybody else? Okay. All right. So the most important thing is safety and common sense, because it sounds ridiculous now to go through all this stuff, but it really is. The things that I have seen cause the most problems are things that can be prevented by common sense. So always wearing personal protective equipment. So we'll always have goggles, and you have to be covered from head to toe. So we'll be wearing long sleeve shirts when we're using this stuff. I didn't make you guys wear long sleeve shirts now because it's really hot, but we will have to, and long pants and rubber boots, because if you guys spill it on your shoes, I don't want it to be soaking in. And really the most common accidents happen with pouring, because as you guys will feel, because you'll actually do this thing weighs a lot, and this is pretty close to how much it actually weighs, maybe a little bit more, but it's good to test it out. And so when you're pouring this thing into this little tank, that's when most spills occur. So we need to be really mindful when we're working with this stuff. If we use it really properly and use common sense, it has a pretty low toxicity. It doesn't present much of a hazard to us or the environment when it's used correctly. So that's really important to remember. So this is our basic setup. When we go out into a site with
Jack. That crack, is that enough? Too much of a crack?
Let me see.
It will be sticky.
This side is a little cracked. So one more thing that I would mention is that if you notice where your needle is, it's pretty much right in the middle between the two nodes. I would keep it a little higher, a little closer to the top node. So if you want to pull it out and try it again on the ones above it, yeah. So just, yeah.
I don't even know who he is anymore.
Perfect. Nice. Thank you. This is the first node. And what if it cracks a little? Is that okay? So this is kind of where you have to figure out if you want to move it up a node, or if it's good enough that it won't leak out. So that is kind of cracked, so I would pull it out and maybe walk around the knotweed and pick the second two up there. Yeah.
Cracked again, but not as bad. And none of the water leaked out. So.
None of the water leaked out?
Nope.
So it's good. Nice. Perfect.